So there's a movie called Borderlands, and it's based on the video game, and Eli Roth is directing it, and it's got a lot of big people.
Today we'll be discussing the different plot changes from the Borderlands movie that have occurred over the last...
Wait a minute. Are we not going to talk about Rick and Morty Season 7, like, at all? I see how this is going to be. I'll remember it. Moving on.
Having some mic issues, but I think I've got it back to the way it was.
That's not the only issues you have.
So, Alt+SHIFT+Nerd report and discuss news and updates on the Borderlands movie, which some believe was a hoax or got axed during production, though I continue to say that it is real and happening, with an official release date now, no less. I'd not be surprised if the pushback on the release date for 2024 may coincide with Borderlands 4's launch. Not saying it will, though I could see that, and it could work out pretty well for the franchise if this would be the case. It'd generate even more buzz that the movie and game series could feed off of one another. Either way, it has been a long road to wrap up the Borderlands movie, which is happening and has been in development since 2015.
Really? Since 2015? Didn't know that. Where have I been?
Oh, I don't know. The factory where they make pretty girls?
Watch it. It's been in development since 2015, yeah.
Upon first hearing there'd be a Borderlands movie, I was excited until I read the early synopsis for it. The movie will find legendary thief Lilith in the Alt+SHIFT Corporation space prison when the CEO gives her the chance to earn her freedom by rescuing his daughter, the foul-mouthed Tiny Tina, on the planet Pandora. The mission takes an unexpected turn when it becomes clear that the little girl is the key to unlocking a valuable alien vault that Atlas wants all for itself. There are several things about that early synopsis that didn't quite sit right with me, and almost hinted that whoever was behind this early stage in the movie's development didn't quite have a handle on the actual Borderlands games and characters. Making Tiny Tina the daughter of Atlas' CEO just changes the backstory and motivations of the character. It changes why she is like she is and how she was found and lived. It just changes so much about the character that I really started to doubt and question the whole thing.
It does seem pretty off, though, for really reals.
With the changing story synopsis, some of my doubts began to become alleviated about the Borderlands movie. It started to sound more cohesive, as it is obvious that it's not going to be a straightforward retelling of the first game as an introduction. It did seem that more consideration and time was placed on the second synopsis and the second story in preparation to get things right, even if not completely accurate.
Mark wants it to be accurate.
And so then, we got the second synopsis.
Borderlands is set in the distant future, in which 4 vault hunters travel to the distant planet Pandora to hunt down an alien vault rumored to contain advanced alien technology. The hunters find themselves battling the local wildlife and bandit population, but ultimately attempt to stop the head of a private corporation army from reaching the vault first. Cate Blanchett will take on the role of Lilith, one of the main protagonists from the game series, who is part of the Siren class, a group of women with incredible powers.
We want to make a real great science fiction movie. We don't want to just make a great video game adaptation movie.
Right.
I just want it to be a great,
well, that's the key,
great You just have to make a great sci-fi movie, period.
And it's really come to life. So for Borderlands fans who play the video game, if you have people in your lives that you want to introduce to Borderlands but aren't going to play the game with you, this movie's how you do it. You can bring your family, your loved ones, bring them to the movie and introduce them to Borderlands. They're going to love it.
We want this to be like a gateway drug for the non-Borderlands fans. I mean, look, the great thing about the game is there's so much to it that, you know, you're telling 80 hours of story every time. I mean, people can live in the world, so we have to create a different experience. And the experience has to be thrilling in a different way and exciting, have all the things that the fans love.
Have to admit, those guys sound pumped about the project. Randy Pitchford, he's president of the company behind the Borderlands games. Is he, like, overseeing the adaptation, or...
From what I understand, Randy was CEO of Gearbox Software as he helped found the company. Now that they are branching out into more games, he's become the president of Gearbox Entertainment Company. So, he seems to be working closely with those involved in adapting the movie. As for Eli Roth, we'll come back to him, though he's being credited as the main director on the film. Love Eli Roth or hate him, as he has a controversial reputation as director with the movies he's worked on, yet he's attached to the movie and there's no changing that at this stage in the game. As stated, though, we'll come back to him later in the video. Along with the writers, this brings us to a huge change in the movie story, which we get a window into with the third synopsis.
There's more rewrites? Say, what?
Lilith, an infamous outlaw with a mysterious past, reluctantly returns to her home planet of Pandora to find the missing daughter of the universe's most powerful SOB, Atlas. Lilith forms an alliance with an unexpected team. Roland, a former elite mercenary now desperate for redemption. Tiny Tina, a feral preteen demolitionist. Krieg, Tina's muscle-bound, rhetorically challenged protector. Tanis, the scientist with a tenuous grip on sanity. And Claptrap, a persistently wise-ass robot. These unlikely heroes must battle alien monsters and dangerous bandits to find and protect the missing girl who may hold the key to unimaginable power. The fate of the universe could be in their hands, but they'll be fighting for something more. Each other.
Okay, now it, like, sounds mixed. They are combining elements of the first and second games. I mean, maybe it's not too bad. Adding some meat and potatoes to the plot to thicken it up from the first game's thin one.
We needs a few good taters. Potatoes. Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew.
Now, I don't expect movies and games and whatever else to have to be made how I'd expect them to be made. I'm not one of those kinds of angry internet persons. It's just that I've grown tired of changes happening to characters and stories that I've loved for so long, making those very beloved things something completely different, as if they are their own IPs, instead of what is supposed to be adapted.
I feel your Rems.
I'm open-minded to what others have in mind for adaptations. You never know if someone else's vision could completely blow your ideas of what something could, should, or can be out of the water in a beautifully unexpected way. So I continue to be curious as to where they're going to take this, or where they are taking it. And that sounds more like it.
I feel they could be going for some kind of balance, possibly. I really like Mordecai, and what they did with Brick was...
I made my peace with the choices glimpsed in that third synopsis. Who knows? Maybe the current reshoots are based on rewrites and even more changes that could take this third synopsis even more different in what we get in the end. I mean, yeah, there are things to be done with a character like Brick, which they did well in the second game. Mordecai, I like the character, though can see why they cut these two and replaced them with more interesting characters as an introduction to non-gamers or normies.
Yeah. Brick is adorable, yet Krieg can totally be played for serious action, as Brick could, yet can also be played for, like, layered situational humor that add to dynamics with, like, practically any other character. So, yeah, I agree, though. I'm open to these changes. Just gotta see what they do with it. I really want to see those sirens in action on the big screen, yo!
Totally. I concur. Who knows? Maybe Mordecai and Brick will make cameos or brief teases of their role in a sequel or in some other way. I'd not be surprised.
Me either. Isn't there something about Knox, like General Knox in the revisions?
They added General Knox to the mix, but turned around and changed it to Knox's daughter, which leads me to believe they may add him to the sequel bait. And yeah, let's get into the casting now. Say what you will about the synopsis, at least it looks like improvement and progress, like they are doing what they can to not make this just another bad video game adaptation. Yet the casting has had me even more up and down about whether to care about this movie or not. I grew less excited when I heard the casting. Someone just decided to age up the characters for reasons unknown. And Kevin Hart as Roland was the biggest WTF moment I had had about the casting personally. Now, I really love Cate Blanchett, though I just couldn't see her as Lilith. I'm sure she'll do a stellar job and convince all of us that she is Lilith. I mean, she did rock as Hela in the Thor movie. I don't doubt her ability to pull off the role. I just find it difficult presently to see her as Lilith. I really couldn't see Kevin Hart as Roland, and still kind of can't, though watching interviews with him, I'm starting to believe that maybe he can do a great job in the role of Roland. I mean, those in charge of developing the movie actually addressed these concerns and told Kevin if he is to do this, he really has to bring it. If he can't, they would respect him to bow out so that they can find someone else who could.
Are you for really reals? Ha!
Seriously.
You've got to be kidding. They actually called him out for his roles previously?
Here's what I'm talking about. I was a little iffy and nervous about Kevin Hart playing the character of Roland at first. However, he's been talking about how he's gotten serious for the role, there is no comedy, and he's actually been trained by Navy SEALs to better take on this role. In fact, let him talk for himself.
Borderlands, once again, it's all about the shock factor. This is me stepping into action full speed ahead. No comedy. It says I'm responsible for the action. He said, Kevin, if you tell me that you can show up prepared and that you want to come in and knock this out, then you're my guy. So I did some training with some Navy SEALs. I got real good with weapons. I got real good with my hand-to-hand combat. And the experience here in Budapest filming Borderlands has been unreal.
More and more, I think that I'm becoming sold on him, and I just really hope that he does his best and portrays this character. And it's not just on him; it's on the makers, the writers, and the producers, and the director of this movie to make sure that this character doesn't really deviate too much from the character we all know and love and become a whole different character.
Easily the best cast I've ever worked with, but like just a world-class cast of actors that all came in just to come in and play, and everyone is so into their characters. Like we see way Florian's playing Krieg.
Florian is killing it.
Ariana is Tiny Tina.
She's
Kevin is
amazing.
Roland. I mean, Kevin is a man on a mission.
I can't believe
he's
watching
playing like
Kevin
a full action star.
Go full action star. I think he's really going to surprise people. Like, you're a freaking action hero.
Thank you, man.
This is amazing watching you work.
You know
you're
what?
blowing my mind.
I'm going to say I'll one-up you. I'll say it's amazing for me to have the opportunity to portray the character of Roland, of course, who you're very familiar with, because this is your creation. I think the biggest and best thing is the surprise that you guys are going to be in for. Because you got no idea what I'm doing or how I'm doing or why I'm doing it. You got no idea the level that I came in at. You got no idea how much preparation I decided to put into this particular character in this role. You got no idea.
You got no idea.
Mark wants an idea.
Holy moly. I think I'm starting to believe in Kevin Hart now, too.
I am in Budapest. I am working on a movie. The fact that I've been there from the very first moments of Borderlands and have executive produced and did a lot of design and development and even storytelling with all of the Borderlands games over the years. I just happen to be the guy that's helping these guys make sure it's an authentic Borderlands movie. And I've loved a lot of the interest that Hollywood's gotten in video game IP, and I love the fact that Hollywood's investing more and more in video game IP. But I will say that, like many people, some of the video game movies have disappointed me, and I'm really just it's not my movie, but I'm doing everything I can to make sure that this team of incredible filmmakers, this director, this cast, this unbelievable crew has all the support in the world from us, and has the access to myself and all the members of Gearbox to make sure that the authenticity is there. And we're doing everything that we can to make sure that's the case.
So yeah, it seems there's a lot going into this. And apparently maybe Cate Blanchett will sell us as much as Kevin Hart is selling us now. I do feel a little more secure with the whole Kevin Hart thing the more I explored it and the more I prepared, for this video, and also before that just in my own research because I was interested in the movie. But yeah, maybe once we see her on screen as Lilith, we'll instantly be like, okay, yeah, that's it. She's rocking it. That's Lilith. Maybe that'll be the case. As far as the other cast members, before we get into the writers and what's going on with that and the more current news and who's playing who.
And the experience here in Budapest filming Borderlands has been unreal. Cate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, myself, Flo, Ariana. I mean, our cast is unreal, and he truly is knocking this movie out the park.
From Borderlands 2 comes Tiny Tina. She's a demolitions expert who's 13 years old. She has an attitude, and she's part of this crew that is working on Pandora to open vaults and protect its contents from anyone who would misuse it. The actress who plays Tiny Tina, we're talking about Ariana Greenblatt. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name properly, but I'm pronouncing it the way it's spelled, Greenblatt. She'll be playing Tiny Tina, and some of you may know her from the Avengers movies. She played young Gamora. She was also in some Disney Channel movies and content, but for the most part, Eli Roth, when they were auditioning for these parts, said that she just knocked Tiny Tina out of the park, and so this is what he had to say about that. Ariana is a spectacular new talent in cinema. She has already worked with many of my close collaborators, and everyone raves about her. She blew us all away in her audition, and I cannot wait to see her bring the wild, insane, and unpredictable Tiny Tina to the big screen. She's gonna blow up on screen like one of Tiny Tina's grenades. Ariana has also been posting some photos on her Instagram.
Tried gathering pictures with these wonderful people without spoilers. Very hard to do. LOL. I've gotten to spend much wonderful time with the cast, and I'm so excited to share when I can.
Rems, were you attempting a little girl's voice there?
Maybe.
So she has a picture as seen here with her and Jamie Lee Curtis, who is one of her co-stars playing Patricia Tannis. And then also we have pictures of her wearing Tiny Tina's rabbit ears that she's been known to wear when she's not wearing a psycho mask or a traditional army's helmet. And you can also see her in photos with Kevin Hart, who's playing the character of Roland from actually all the Borderlands games he's been in so far, except Tales from the Borderlands. I don't think he's been in those. You can also see her with Florian, and I forget his name, Anyway, he plays Krieg. Yeah, you can see her with him, and he plays a psycho.
Yeah, I'm not in there.
Florian's in this? Oh, wow, guys.
Do you know Florian?
Yeah, he was in a Creed 2. He's jacked. He's huge.
Yeah, I like Florian.
And I'm not sure who this other big guy is, if maybe he's going to play the larger version of Krieg when he goes into this other psycho mode.
Where he transforms into a psycho badass. I can, totally see the big guy there playing that role.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, during a break while making this video, I found out, I don't know how I missed this, but no, that big guy's not going to be playing the psycho version of Krieg when he becomes a badass psycho. He's actually going to be playing Crom, one of the main bosses and bandit leaders in the video games, in the first one.
Oh, well, thanks for that. Either way, he is one huge hunk of a man, definitely to be an intimidating version of Crom for sure. Going back to General Knox, Janina Gavankar joins the upcoming Borderlands movie cast. She'll take on the role of a totally new character, Commander Knox. General Knox, from the first game's round of DLCs, didn't have a known daughter, or any children or family for that matter, actually. He mentions coming from a line of military men, probably grumpy as him. His father is mentioned, though. That's all we know of any familial ties he could have had. So my theory is that she's possibly supposed to be a replacement of sorts for Commandant Steele. If so, that totally begs the question, will she too be a siren?
If so, will she too die like Commandant Steele?
Who else?
Hint: sad birthday pizza topped with tears and oil.
Oh, how could I ever forget Claptrap?
I don't know. I'm
but I like
kind
this
of
choice.
neutral on this one. I could.
Mr. Black'll rock is Claptrap, yo.
I don't know why they didn't just go with the voice actor that they were using for the video games for Claptrap, but at the same time, I can see why they went with Jack Black. But I'm just kind of neutral on the matter.
Next up is Gina Gershon. Now, this Gina Gershon actress, I'm not that familiar with her, though I know she was in a movie with Nicolas Cage. Oh man, I loves me some Nick Cage. Why isn't he in this movie? Man, why isn't Nick Cage in this movie? Why? Can you tell me that, Randy Pitchford or Eli frickin' Roth? Why?
I'll pick it up from here
Why?
before you have a meltdown all over yourself and all the equipment.
He could be Krieg, right? I mean, you have over-the-top Nick Cage portraying the outward-expressing Krieg. Then, you have a very calm, deep-voiced, dreamy Nick Cage speaking for Krieg's inner monologue, lulling me into a trance only he can.
All the other...
Take me to heaven.
Yeah.
Nick Cage.
Just calm down
Take
there.
me now.
Just calm down.
Or Handsome Jack. Yeah, in the sequel, he'd make like a totally really amazing Handsome Jack. I could totally see that. You can see that too, right? Like, please tell me you can see it. And it'd be perfect with the whole face-off reference and Handsome Jack's face being replaced with a mask replica of what it once looked like. It's all right there. Just hear me out, Randy and Eli. I hope you're watching this video. I hope my voice makes it to the heavens where you can hear me.
This isn't about Nicolas Cage. I know everything should be.
Hashtag Nick Cage for Handsome Jack.
But moving on.
Hashtag Nick Cage for Handsome
So yeah,
Jack.
Gina Gershon. Wow, things got real there for a moment. So yeah, Gina Gershon. I knew her from Bound, which kind of introduced me to a whole type of movie when I was a teenager. But yeah, my teenage self had a crush on her way back when. But yeah, she's been in some interesting movies. But mostly, you know, she's been a solid actress, and I've enjoyed her roles in some of the movies that I've seen her in. I don't have anything bad to say about her acting career or the characters she's played or what I know about her. So I do actually think that she has what it takes to... I mean, she wouldn't have been, like, my first pick for Moxie. I wouldn't have thought about that. But at the same time, I can totally see it, though. I'm 100% behind this choice. And I'm interested to see how she portrays Moxie. I mean, she can do sexy and dark humor, twisted humor kind of roles and things like that. So, yeah, let's see what happens there. And then, we have some new characters, like Bobby Lee. He's going to be playing a character named Larry. We'll come back to Bobby Lee. But at first, I thought he was going to be replacing Scooter, because I was like, oh no, there's got to be some Scooter in here.
There has to be a Scooter in the movie.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same without him.
No, there's definitely got to be some Scooter in Borderlands. Borderlands is not the same without Scooter. He'll be played by Stephen Boyer, who I've not really heard of before.
Me either, really.
Scooter's sister, Ellie, will be played by Rhiannon Redmond, who's a singer in addition to being an actress. Good old Marcus here will be played by Ben Byron Davis.
I don't know the guy, but looks alone, nailed it.
Which I can see that. I've heard his acting is pretty good, and it's got to be good, because Marcus is an important character to get right in this movie. Alright, this next casting choice will take a little bit of explanation for those of you who don't know. Atlas was mainly a corporation in the first video game, which by the end of it, and after the General Knox Armory DLC, Atlas was basically brought down. I mean, it was still operating in some capacity, but it was nowhere near to the power level that it was. And in fact, I think it was supposed to be the most powerful corporation amongst them all, amongst Vladoff, Jacobs, and all the other ones. But there was no real person that was introduced that was the head of Atlas. However, most of the corporations named their corporation after their own family last name. So it's possible, I mean, that there was like a John Atlas or a Mark Atlas or whatever, or an Atlas. But in this case, the person playing Atlas, the head of the Atlas Corporation in the Borderlands movie, is a new character made specifically for the movie. So Edgar Ramirez will be playing this role of Atlas, and it's his daughter they'll be looking for, which brings us to the next, looking for on Pandora. And that brings us to the next casting. She is said to be the key to Cate Blanchett's character Lilith's past. So I don't know if that's still the thing, or if it's that's been rewritten, and if she's still going to be a part of it. I from what I'm finding, she is still a part of it. I just don't know if that's going to hold up or not, considering all the rewriting that went on. As head of the Jacobs Corporation...
Wow. Based on looks alone, this one too is nailed. Liked him in the AHS series.
Yes, nice casting for this role. But Wainwright Jacobs is head of the Jacobs Corporation, so you have another corporate CEO leader in this movie also, along with Atlas from the Atlas Corporation.
Sounds like they got some world building up in this movie. Yo!
Then we got Charles Babalola as Sir Hammerlock.
I can see it there.
Then we have some character named Quinn that'll be played by Paula Andrea Placido, which I'm not familiar with. There seems to be a couple of other characters that'll be more in the background or will hardly have a spot in the movie. They're named Psycho, Cowboy, Citizen, and Lance Soldier. Pretty generic. But if the big bad is the Atlas Corporation, then there's gonna be some Crimson Lance soldiers, of course. This one may have more of a speaking role, hence a solid credit as a cast member. And we have not forgotten Penn and Teller will be in this movie as well.
I really like them. They are mind blowers.
Penn and Teller inspired and voiced the Borderlands 3 characters Pain and Terror. In this movie, however, Penn will be playing a preacher officiating a wedding. He says like 4 lines or so, then a fight breaks out. Penn explains that it's more of a cameo role in the movie for him. This preacher character gets locked up and taken away in what Penn describes as a space paddy wagon. And I guess Teller won't be in it. He's not really mentioned or anything, so...
So that does it for our cast, yeah?
So I meet her at noon downstairs at the restaurant, and Janina's there, Cheyenne's there, and Penn Jilette's there.
He's in... Oh, wow.
You know Penn Jilette?
Oh, my favorite magician.
Yeah.
Babe.
So Penn Jilette's there, and...
Yes, it does. I left Penn for last in that Bobby Lee said something in one of his podcasts that I think are connected and give some indirect information about a scene in the movie. Bobby Lee, he's an actor and comedian with a podcast, for those of you unfamiliar with him as we are. He was describing what it was like filming this movie in Budapest and mentioned how hot and sweaty he would get during a chaotic scene with him as a Crimson Lance soldier in full uniform and spaceships flying all around, guns blazing.
But then, so I went to shoot, right? So you go to this desert, and it's like thousands of people.
Oh,
like extras, and I play a soldier, right? So they're switching it around. Let's go to the church and with Kevin's waiting for you to rehearse.
Based on what Bobby's describing, he's a Crimson Lance soldier that has to stop whatever he's doing with ships flying around and shooting going on, and he has to go meet up with Roland, Kevin Hart's character in the film. Penn plays a preacher at a wedding. Could this church scene be the very same scene Penn mentioned where a fight breaks out? And maybe that's what all the commotion going on entails? Bobby says he has a small role in the movie revolving around Roland, and Penn stated he is doing a cameo appearance.
Could be the same scene. Like many weddings have lots of people, like he's saying, is on the set for this shoot.
I'm sweating this, right? And the take takes for 20 minutes. It's like the people are just running with fucking machine guns, and there's, you know what I mean? Machine, spacecrafts, you know what I mean? And all kinds of shit going on. So then at 6 hours later, they have a scene where me and Janina, I hand her a gun and I go, "There's a creature, we should shoot it." You know what I mean?
A big question for me in this is whose wedding is it? I get the impression that it's a background character's wedding somewhere near the beginning or towards the ending to wrap some things up in a funny note. However, could we see one of Moxie's weddings in this movie?
That would rock. Probably to Marcus, I'd say, since Mordecai doesn't seem to be in this movie. Unless he makes a small cameo without much to do in this story as a surprise or Easter egg. Ooh, Shank would be hilarious.
Oh man, you're dead! You're dead! Shank's gonna gut you! Shank's gonna slit your throat! Shank's gonna suck your eyeballs out of their sockets with a straw! Shank's gonna...
That's Mr. Shank.
They were husbands of hers, though, yeah. It would be pretty funny from what I've researched and what Bobby says about it. I feel it's a scene for introducing characters or some story elements that influence the main characters or main story, yet the wedding itself is more of a background thing. Could be to set the tone early on. It also sounds like Bobby's character, Larry, will pop up more than once, briefly, as part of some comedic effect, possibly.
Oh! It could be a massive fight breaking out due to a wedding between the Zaphods and Hodunks, like in the DLC, Moxie's Wedding Day Massacre.
I would laugh my butt off if that turns out to be the case.
What's up, Roland?
I swear to God.
You just killed it.
I go, because when I see Kevin's Hart character, I'm in a bar and I go, Roland, what's up? That's one of my lines.
Kevin Hart's name is Roland in the movie?
Yeah.
He's apparently friends with Roland, and he has several scenes. One with Janina shooting lasers and stuff in the desert. He has the one at the church, and then one at a bar, which I assume would be Moxie's bar, because it's the most famous and popular bar in the whole game series. But it could be a generic bar. We'll have to see. It depends on if they're still on Pandora at that point where he meets up at a bar.
And it's one of those sets where it's like, there's just, if you look like a half a mile down, there's these gigantic green screen things up. All these like spaceships and machinery and like gigantic like dinosaur bones sticking out of the sand. I mean,
You know, it could be at Pyro Pete's bar.
True that. True that. Okay, so this movie isn't an adaptation like other games to film. Instead, Randy Pitchford said that it's more of its own version of the games, which is part of the Borderlands cinematic universe, this installment revolving around Lilith and Tiny Tina. Eli said this movie is going to be as colorful and vibrant as the games, which Bobby Lee confirmed, with a unique style and look to it that is fitting the game series. They each also assure us that though the movie is a different take on the games, it will be true to the characters and authentic to the overall story. Last November, 2023, the movie underwent test screenings. Not sure of the results of that screening, though Lionsgate, the film studio behind the production of this Borderlands movie, was apparently not satisfied completely and ordered reshoots.
Eli Roth, the director of Hostel, The Green Inferno, Cabin Fever. He's making the Borderlands movie.
Guys over at Geek Tyrant YouTube channel, they were some of the fortunate few, rare few, that got to see some early footage of the movie before all the reshoots. And so here's what they had to say.
I'm Joey Parr with GeekTyrant.com, and joining me is Billy Fisher. And we want to talk about that footage. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to actually get me excited for an Eli Roth movie.
Right.
I'm not the biggest Eli Roth fan.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the game, you're going to be stoked by what we saw. I mean...
But this is the first movie footage from a movie I've seen of his where I'm like, huh, looks like he pulled off something pretty cool here.
Yeah. So we didn't get to see much. We saw flashes. They showed character shots.
But it was enough for us to like, hey, let's talk about it, because like this is a big movie coming out and people are curious to know what to expect from it, and fans are going to be super happy with what Roth has done with this.
And so they live up to the hype.
I'm stoked.
So,
and the colors, just everything pops. So what we saw, like the colors are just so vibrant and they just come out of the screen and you're just like, man, this is like the video game come to life. Like there's no mute colors. It's not like, you know, they tried to like ground it in reality or anything. They took the style of the game and just brought it to life in a live action form, and it works.
Right.
Which I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Those Geek Tyrant guys have more to say than the clips in this video, so be sure to check them out and see the full videos. I'll put links in the descriptions below. But they saw footage of the Borderlands movie at CinemaCon 2021, to be clear. And they apparently aren't Eli Roth fans, but have nothing but positive get pumped comments to be made about that footage that they got to glimpse. Then I checked back in with them to find that they saw more footage again a year later.
Hey, it's Geek Tyrant. We are here at CinemaCon 2022. We just got out of the Lionsgate panel where they showed us the first footage from director Eli Roth's upcoming film adaptation of the hit video game Borderlands. This movie is going to be very colorful, very vibrant. Like if you... It takes that tone and the vibe of the video game and it just brings it into this live action world, and everything just kind of pops.
Right.
It's kind of cool. You know, I liked what I saw. And probably what we saw wasn't even the finished product, I imagine. I imagine what we saw is just a rough cut.
Yeah. And this cut that they showed us of the trailer had the same colorization, which blew me away because it's just like the game.
The test screenings and reshoots came after what those gentlemen at Geek Tyrant saw. Reshoots were called for some scenes, which is actually one of the most recent delays for the film's release. Eli Roth was busy at the time working on the horror film Thanksgiving, so a stand-in director was brought on board for the reshoots. The stand-in director is Tim Miller. While being the primary director of this movie, Eli Roth co-wrote it with a man named Joe Crombie. I looked everywhere for this co-writer and found nothing, which may be due to a rumor about Joe Crombie being a writer's pseudonym for Craig Mazin. Craig Mazin himself claims that the rumors of him being the official Joe Crombie are false and that he isn't credited as a writer on the Borderlands movie because he didn't co-write it. Lionsgate seems to think that he was a writer in the script's early drafts, which may be the case. There are 7 writers apparently accredited to doing some degree of writing for this movie. Craig Mazin being mentioned is one of the earlier ones. If he was involved, he may not want to be credited due to all the rewrites after his participation, making what he contributed to be completely unrecognizable. And he seems keen to maintain his reputation as one of the more in-demand writers in Hollywood within recent years. It's difficult to say what actually transpired within this matter with all the rumors and hearsay. For now, the most recent writer has been Zach Olkowicz, who's working with Tim Miller on new pages during the reshoots to finish up the film after the last test screening, which the following is a brief update from Tim Miller during an interview he had with Collider.
It obviously came out that you worked on the Borderlands reshoots, and I'm just curious, what can you say about what you did, and what can you say about the film?
So it was just it was a great experience all around, and I was feeling a little rusty, so I was happy to get back in the saddle. And the movie gets up and moves, you know. It's a good ride.
Okay, so this was that interview where Tim Miller says doing the reshoots was freeing for him since he wasn't burdened with working on like a whole movie, and like his real reason for doing it was to like work with Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt, and like that. Right? This is that interview.
But my main reason, other than, you know, I have a huge affection for the video game industry, and I want to see every video game adaptation succeed, is, you know, I'll be honest, I wanted to work with Kate Blanchett, and I wanted to work with Kevin and Jamie Lee Curtis and Ariana Greenblatt, the young lady who plays Tiny Tina, is amazing.
That was the one. I think that wraps this deep dive up. Well, as far as the major portions of facts and us tossing out a few theories from what we know already, there will be manufacturer guns, as can be seen of props and stills. Steve Jablonsky, the guy who scored the music for Transformers and is a fan of the Borderlands game, having played them for years, scored the Borderlands movie as well. So, in review, the movie went through spurts of production hell, in between green lights, changing scripts and writers, but overall has pushed forward through it all. Finally, filming in Budapest, Hungary back in 2021. It went into post-production for test screening, and then some footage was shared sparingly at conventions, though ultimately had to do reshoots due to some hiccups in test screenings. Lionsgate brought on Tim Miller, the director from Deadpool, to do the reshoots since Eli Roth was already working on a different project during the time the reshoots were called for. There was I don't know what you would call it. It's not a scandal as much as it is a snafu about whether Craig Mazin co-wrote or wrote any portions of scripts at any point during production at all. There was a rumor that he did, which, I mean, he did actually write one, but then it was rewritten by 2 other people. And so later on it was listed under a different name, which he claims is not another name for himself, and he claims to have no writing credits, I guess because it was changed too much. So he denied those claims as well. It's uncertain if he just doesn't want any credits due to all the rewrites or others' involvement in the writing. Those privileged enough to have been in the movie or seen footage praise the acting and actually state that Kevin Hart does his best at bringing Roland to life and stepped up to ensure he remained true to the character in his portrayal of him. Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox, who makes the Borderlands game series, is doing his best to make sure this is not a terrible video game to film adaptation, though the movie is not canon to the games, as it is its own thing that remains true to the feel, style, and core of the games and the characters themselves. We know there's a church scene, a bar scene, several desert combat scenes. There hasn't really been too much divulged, leaked, or unofficially released. The photos of Kate Blanchett on set, dressed as Lilith, with what looks to be a script in her arms, was leaked, though that's the only real leaks I'm aware of, other than what Bobby shared in his podcast, Tiger Belly. If anything was overlooked or missed, feel free to share in the comments below, fellow gamers, fellow enthusiasts waiting for this movie to come out. Until next transmission, Alt+SHIFT+Nerd, Gozen's love.
HellProof kitty. Meow, meow, RAWRrr.
Signing out.
Meow, meow, RAWRrr.